Social psychology is the scientific study of how people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are influenced by other people. And in order to evaluate this social behavior, we try to describe it and explain it. And so the description needs to be very specific and without biases. And so scientists will spend a lot of time defining a specific behavior in order to make sure that it's objective and reliable. And then once they have this description, they move on to explaining it. So the why of the evaluation. Why does this behavior happen? And from there, we develop social theories. And so these theories give us hints on where we can explore more options to explain behavior. And so as social psychological theory would suggest searching other places for social behaviors, such as a person's interpretation of their social environment, maybe family background or friends, the broader cultural focus, and even genetic predispositions. And so we have different areas to look in to try to explain social behavior. And then from these theories, we try to predict future behaviors or what will happen next. And so there are different reasons why we develop theories, first to explain and then to predict. And within social psychology, we have four basic theories that we view behavior from. First is the sociocultural perspective. And so from here, it's a view that a person's prejudices, preferences, even political persuasions are affected by factors that are at the group level. And so things like nationality, social class, current historical trends will all impact a person's outlook. And so if we have a woman in her 90s who is from the working class, is a grandmother, she may have a very different perspective from cohabitation prior to marriage versus a working class woman in her 20s. Because of the differences in social norms within their development, that changes how they look, or it enhances how they look at a particular topic or typical concept. And so an important part that sociocultural theorists look at is social norms. And so what's appropriate behavior? And at the center of this is culture. And culture is a set of beliefs, customs, habits, even language that's shared by a group of people at a particular time in a particular place. And so all cultural norms will be different from those in a different culture. So in America, for example, we value educating all children. And so girls and boys attend school together because we value educating everyone. And so that would be very different in another culture where girls don't attend school at all, or perhaps they only attend for a short amount of time. And so it depends on what the cultural norm is for the society as to what rules are followed by the people who live within that. Then we look at the evolutionary perspective. So this really stems from human social behaviors are rooted in physical and psychological predispositions that helped our ancestors survive and reproduce. And so at the center of this is natural selection. And so animals passed off traits or characteristics to their offspring that helped them survive. And so anything that was beneficial was passed on, and anything that wasn't beneficial or needed to change did through adaptation. And so the characteristics changed so that the offspring had a better chance of survival, a better chance of reproducing to carry on the species. And so some of our behaviors are wired in because at some point that was helpful for our for humans to survive, being fearful of a particular object or avoiding a particular food, something like that that would harm a person. People became fearful of those because it was useful to our ancestors. And so some of that is instinctual. And then if we look at the social learning theory, that really talks about how an individual's past learning experiences with rewards or punishments influence their social behavior. And so we learn from other people in our environment. If someone else in a situation earns a reward for engaging in a particular behavior, we're more likely to engage in that behavior because we want that reward, or we believe that we might receive the same reward if we engage in the same behavior. But also there are consequences, and so someone else receives a consequence for engaging in a particular behavior, we're more likely to avoid that behavior because we don't want to receive the same consequence that they received. And so social learning theory really shows how people learn with and from each other. It's very similar to the socio-cultural perspective because they both look at social behavior within the environment, but they are different. The social learning theory really emphasizes the individual's unique experience in a family or in a group or in a school, and the social-cultural theorists aren't really concerned with the individual at that specific level. They're looking at the broader cultural aspects, such as groups of people, so like college students or Catholics or Americans. It's a broader group that they're looking at versus the individual. And also the sociocultural theorists have this assumption that norms can change fairly rapidly. So like clothing and music, those things go out of style and they're replaced with new cultural norms. And social learning theorists think that habits you learn early within your life are difficult to break in later life. And so they view a couple of really significant things differently. Then social cognitive perspective looks at how people's choices with social events influences processes. And so how their interpretations of these events and how they store these events all impact how they behave. And so there are different experiments to show how social situation influence cognitive factors such as attention and memory. So researchers in one experiment had females and males in a classroom, and they were in high school, and they asked them how important it is to have a high salary later in life. And when there was a mixture of females and males in the room, males to a very high degree and females to a slightly high degree, indicated that it was very important that you earn a high degree. However, when the genders were separated, both genders thought it was important, but not as important. And so you can see the social impact of having different genders in the room, how that influences people's behaviors and responses. And really, each of these theories seems like they're in competition with each other. However, they really look at different aspects of social behavior, and so when we combine those, we have a holistic picture of what social behavior is and how we can look at it and how it predicts the future.